Throughout the history of video games, there's been many classic levels, like, of course, the first Super Mario level. There's been many fast-paced and exciting levels, like the Chapter 11 of Uncharted 4. There's been many mind-blowing levels, like the Leviathan escape from Knights of the Old Republic with that iconic reveal at the end. There's been many heartbreaking levels, like the Ghost of Tsushima epilogue. Many wholesome levels, like the Bee World and Super Mario Galaxy. There's been many emotional levels, like the hospital from The Last of Us. There's been many just absolutely gorgeous levels, like Romance from Arise a Simple Story. Many dark levels, like Blood Feuds Ancient and Modern from Red Dead Redemption 2. With all these different types of levels in mind, the question, what is the best level of all time, is a very difficult one to answer. However, I believe I'm up to the challenge. I played far less games than most hardcore gamers on YouTube, yet I've still played quite a few in my time, accumulating in hundreds if not at least a couple thousand total levels played, and I believe I have an answer to this ever difficult question. In my opinion, the best video game level of all time is Scenes from a Marriage, a level from The Witcher 3 DLC Hearts of Stone. For most people, I'm sure this claim's come out of nowhere. This level isn't that widely popular in the realm of gaming, especially for people who've never played Witcher 3. But to that, I would say, go freaking play Witcher 3. It's on sale all the time, and it's more than worth it even if it's full price. So, why do I think it's the best level of all time? I'll tell you. The first reason I believe this is the best level ever made is that it has this unique feel to it. It stands out not just from the rest of the DLC, and not just from the rest of the game, but from all of gaming, in my opinion. You start by tracking down a strange beast on the premises, later referred to as the Caretaker, which Geralt has never actually seen before in his years of being a Witcher. It's quite creepy looking too, if I might add.
What the fuck was that?
Afterwards, you're introduced to two talking beasts in the forms of a cat and a dog respectively. Each are all black and have an eerily foggy eyes. When asked what they are, they elude the answer, leaving it to the player to decide. There are a few times in the entire Witcher franchise that such unique characters are introduced. This isn't all, however, as Geralt is soon sucked into an entirely different world. This world is called the Painted World by the two creatures. They tell Geralt it is a world created by the mind of Iris, the woman Geralt is after, and that it is manifested after her death. But we'll return to that later. For now, let's discuss the world. It's literally as if you are in a painting. The predominant coloring on the screen is the slightly purple, as not just the flowers are colored this way, but the sky as well. It's just absolutely gorgeous. As you walk around, everything save yourself and the other characters is distorted, giving everything an appearance as if it has been painted rather than animated. As you follow this simple level design, there are many dark shadows that appear. Some, called specters, can attack you, while others point you in the right direction and disappear. This gives the story a more eerie feeling, quite fitting given the plot. The plot, is the second reason I believe this is the best video game level. Before I get into the plot of this level, let me offer a spoiler warning for anyone who wants to experience it in the game rather than on YouTube. 3, 2, 1, time's up. But before I discuss the plot of this level specifically, let me brief you on the main plot of the DLC. So, Geralt owes Gaunter O'Dim, a man known as the Master Mirror, a favor, when O'Dim wants repaid through a third party. Now O'Dim is no ordinary man, however. It's unclear what exactly he is, but one can assume whatever it is somewhat demonic. O'Dim enlists Geralt into the service of Olgierd von Everec. Olgierd made a deal with O'Dim, a deal in which O'Dim would grant Olgierd 3 wishes via the use of a proxy, which he chose to be Geralt of Rivia. This level involves the third and final wish of Olgierd von Everec, the last thing he can request or receive before he has to return the favor to O'Dim, whatever awful way he agreed to, which is unclear. Olgierd was once married to a woman named Iris, a woman he tells Geralt he left. Geralt is tasked with retrieving a flower Olgierd gave his wife years past. Perhaps this is because he regrets leaving her, or perhaps this is because he believes the wish is impossible to deliver on. I'd guess the latter, though I find I can never dismiss the former. So, off Geralt goes to retrieve this flower from Iris, the wife of Olgierd. He travels up this road on a beautiful day, but once he gets close to the estate, this fog envelops the area, making for quite an eerie sight. of the run-down gate surrounding the estate in the thick fog. Geralt finds someone at a hole in the wall calling out to a friend and tells him to leave, given the possibility of monsters inside that likely killed his friend. Geralt is half right, as the man is indeed dead, but it was no foglet or ordinary monster that did the job. Rather is it a strange-looking tall humanoid creature, dressed in black robes, that Geralt discovers burying the man. And apparently, this isn't the first man he's killed either. Geralt calls out to him, and this is what he sees. Geralt fights the strange beast, and after defeating him meets two more strange beings, the dog and the cat I mentioned before. He asks where to find Iris, and they give him the key to get inside where they say she is. This is where my third reason for this level being so great comes into play. This third reason is that the level flawlessly mixes your gameplay into the storytelling, far more so than any other time in any game I've ever played. If you don't mind, I'd like to discuss both points at once given how they intertwine. You walk into the house and there is a strange green mist moving about the floor. Then all of a sudden a wraith jumps out of a painting, leaving you startled and Geralt on his toes. You find Iris's notebook and pick it up. You walk to the stairs and the chandelier, or whatever you'd call it in this case, falls directly in front of you. And I really don't think that was just a chance happening. You go up the stairs, around the outside of the building, and then down another hallway. You're getting close to the room the animals mentioned. You can feel it, not mention see it on your compass. Then all of a sudden, the light extinguishes and the wraith attacks. Depending on the game's settings, this can either be a very easy or a very difficult fight. But if it's difficult, it's gosh dang difficult. Same as the caretaker from earlier. After winning the fight, you find Iris's body. That's right, Iris is dead. And yes, that wraith was indeed Iris, unable to rest after death. According to the creatures, she died of sadness. Unfortunately, the flower is nowhere to be found, so Geralt must find a way to speak to the deceased and corrupted Iris. He and the creatures bury her, though strangely enough, they refuse to take part in the ceremony. Geralt summons the wraith, freeing her at least somewhat. She then leads him into a painting, and he enters the painted world. Once again, gameplay takes the forefront of the story, as your objective is to repeatedly use your Witcher senses to pinpoint objects that don't fit in Iris's memories, which make up the painted world. Your job is to return them into their correct places in order to play the memory. You need to place a book in Olgierd's hand. Make sure only certain candles are lit at the dinner table. Place objects on the stand to paint in the correct order. You need to place the correct candles on a pentagram. When everything is in order for each bit, you get to see a memory. Afterwards, you fight off specters, then follow other specters to your next memory. These memories are what make the story of this level so spectacular. Before this, you had briefly heard of Iris, but never once has she been at the forefront of the story, or even close to it. And now you get to see just the kind of man Olgierd is, through her eyes. Besides immortal, of course. Initially, he loved Iris, but given their large lonely estate, his awful parents-in-law, and apparently his crippling debt, something changed in him. This is expedited apparently by his deal with Odin, which is still unclear what exactly he offered. Even Iris was unsure. As his character declines, memory after memory, you feel more and more for Iris, as you already know her story does not have a happy ending, given you found her on the bed, and you hope beyond hope that it will. As each memory progresses, you see her desperate attempts to reach her husband and restore the good heart within him she fell for. You see the decline of her opinion of him, and even her attempt to get a divorce, according to her.
And I've held to my vow. The Olgierd I married is no more.
This is what destroys Olgierd. This was his last straw. He attacks her father in a fit of rage right in front of her and kills him, then forbids her to ever exit the estate. According to the dog,
He still loved his wife.
but I think the cat had the better answer.
No, he merely remembered that he should love her.
The cat's words become far more powerful in the next memory, as Olgierd orders the caretaker to guard the place. But was this done out of a desire to protect his wife, or out of a desire to oppress her? She tries to stop this, but her requests go unnoticed. Olgierd even tells her that he no longer feels anything, making anything she says a waste of breath. Speaking of feelings, the room after this houses Iris' greatest fear. In that room is Olgierd's farewell letter to his wife, which he sent along with the flower Geralt is after. You then fight a multitude of Olgierd specters. This is one of the most intriguing parts of the level and raises the question, what exactly is Iris' greatest fear? Was she afraid of Olgierd, or was she afraid that he would abandon her? If so, is this because she still loved him, or because she feared being alone forever? This question was on my mind during the entire fight, and luckily was answered soon after with this line from Iris.
You're not him.
It's crazy to think that after everything Olgierd did to her, that Iris would still love Olgierd, yet she did. The question still remains though, why? Is it because she's a good person? Is it some strange form of Stockholm Syndrome? Or is it because she has hope that the man she loved is still buried somewhere within his Heart of Stone, hence the name of the DLC? This is a question left unanswered, and one I find myself pondering quite a bit. Now, here's the final reason I find Scenes from Marriage to be the best level of any game ever made. There are quite a few games like Witcher 3 which, at least from time to time, allow you to make choices that affect the story. One example would be Red Dead Redemption 2, in which you choose to accept or decline honor levels, and at the end of the game, if your honor is high enough, choose whether to help John or yourself. However, none of these games, not even Red Dead Redemption 2, present you with such a difficult choice as this level does. Sure, Red Dead Redemption 2's choices, especially the last one, have very emotional results, but none of them are specifically hard decisions. Even Ghost of Tsushima's final decision was an easy choice. This one, on the other hand, is unrivaled in regards to its difficulty. Geralt concludes that the flower is something called a pin, which is holding her and her painted world in existence. Iris' sorrow leaves her indecisive, making your request her decision. You can either take the flower and end the existence of Iris, albeit a depressing one, or you can take a replica of the flower. Or at least that's what I believe happens. I didn't make that decision. If you do this though, Iris continues to live in sadness in her painted world. The only reason I was able to choose the former over the latter is because by doing so I was able to help the cat and the dog who I grew quite fond of over this hour-long adventure. Even so, I left the painted world and returned to the regular one, questioning whether or not it was right to end her existence, a question I find myself asking every time I think of this level. Something to note here is that in the next level, the details of Olgierd's deal with Odin are revealed. It turns out that Olgierd offered his brother's life, who we meet in the previous level, as well as his own soul to Odin if Odin restored his fortune and allowed Iris to wed him. It's unclear still what caused the change in Olgierd. Was it the deal itself that hardened Olgierd's heart, or was it the guilt of letting his brother die for his own selfish desires? We may never know, but I personally would like to think the latter, as it confirms Iris' hope that Olgierd's heart wasn't completely gone. Ultimately, we learn here that Olgierd, the man we have come to despise up until now in the story, isn't as evil as we once thought, but rather just a broken man. This is why I believe that Scenes from Marriage, the fourth of 5 DLC levels in The Witcher 3 Hearts of Stone, is the greatest level of all time. Except, of course, for LEGO Star Wars The Complete Saga Episode 3 Level 6. Clearly, the best level ever made. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Have a nice day, and I'll see you next time.